Often I'm asked what are some of the most difficult elements that come into play when you're engaging with a narcissist, and the answer to that is, well, where do we even start? If you had to pin me down with the single biggest problem that I see when you are the one engaging with a narcissistic person, is they set your pace for you. They have a real strong need to be in control. They have an attitude of entitlement, and as a result, they can be stubborn and pushy and manipulative and invalidating, and it creates a super sense of exasperation on the inside of you, and before you know it, you wind up becoming a person you don't want to be. You may be agitated or argumentative, or you may go into shutdown mode and you say things you wish you hadn't said, or you just become more insecure and you doubt yourself. I mean, there are all sorts of possibilities. We refer to that phenomenon as blurred boundaries. That is, instead of you being what you need to be and that other person being what they need to be, it's just all blurry and you don't have your distinction. And so I want to talk with you today about 10 different ways that you can establish your boundaries with that narcissist so there's not that real blurry line between the two of you. Now, this implies that you do have a well-conceived idea of who you want to be and what kind of person that you want to portray yourself as, that there's a workmanship towards emotional balance. But notice I didn't say you have to have it perfect, but you're in progress toward that in a consistent kind of way. So let's get right to it. And number one on my list about establishing boundaries with a narcissist is, first, understand what you're dealing with behind the scenes in the narcissist's life. Narcissists come across as this very overconfident or forceful or, person to be reckoned with kind of an individual, when in fact they're terribly, terribly insecure people. And they don't want you to know that. But when you recognize that these are individuals who operate with a great deal of their own fear and inadequacy, it makes a difference in the way you approach them. Now, somewhere along the lines, these individuals, the narcissist, decided, I just can't let people be too separate or distinct. That scares me, or that's a threat to my sense of well-being or to my power base, and so that's why they come across so controlling. But make no mistake, there's a hidden, scared little boy or little girl behind the scenes that's pushing there. So step number one is just know who you're dealing with and understand what's behind the scenes in that individual's life. Now, having said that, number two is know your own limits. When you have that person that has strong narcissistic tendencies, know when you need to be around them and when you don't need to be around them, or where you need to be, or if you need to be around them, for how long or how often. There are times when you have a lot of opportunities to bump into that person or to exchange all sorts of activities with them, and you keep thinking, they wear me out, I don't want to be around. Well, sometimes it's because you haven't established what your own limits are. If there are some possibilities of being around that person or sharing activities, it may be that you'll decide, my limit's up. And it could be that there's some people, I can only see them once or twice a year or once or twice a month, whatever the situation may be. But have a strong definition of what your limitations are, what you can and cannot deal with. Well, that leads to a third key element as you establish boundaries with a narcissist, and that is, make sure you're listening to your emotions. If you're feeling angry, for example, towards that narcissist who's too blustery and too overwhelming, the anger is trying to tell you something. It's your way of saying, this person is coming against me, and anger is your sense of self-preservation. It's your emotions' way of saying, we need to do something about this. Okay, do it. Well, we call it assertiveness, by the way. Or if you have a defensiveness, that implies that you're feared. You're afraid of them. Defensiveness means fear. Why am I afraid of this person? And listen to what your emotions say. If this is a threatening individual or a non-trustworthy individual, then I need to make sure that I listen to what that says and make my decisions accordingly. Fourth, and I kind of think you're going to like this one, it's okay to ignore their overbearing behavior. They may come on real strong and say, here's my opinion, or this is the way I think we need to do it, or when you're around this person, you need to act this way. It may be that you'll decide, that's your position. That's not my position. And rather than having to go into all the rationalization as to why it's okay for you to be that way, there are times when it's like, I'm just not going to go there with you. And so I'll just act as I need to. It's okay when they're overbearing or they're telling you what to do or how to think and all, for you to just let it be known, my mind is made up. I'm moving forward in a different kind of direction. Well, number 5, and that is also recognize that it's okay to say, I'm not interested. It may be that they'll invite you to an event and you've recalled that other events don't go well, or they want you to watch their favorite movie. And of course, they never inquire about your favorite movie, or they want you to be with their friends or family members. And in times past, it's like, okay, I'll go along to get along, and it hasn't worked out well. Is it okay for you to say, I'm going to be other than you. I'm going to be separate and distinct. I'm not interested. Go do your thing, but I don't feel the need to join you. Now, a 6th part of setting your boundaries with a narcissist, and this is a big one, maybe the biggest one, absolutely do not share personal matters with that individual. That's kind of sad to say, isn't it? Because if you're a relational kind of an individual, you want people to know you and who you are and what interests you and what kinds of things have happened or disappointments or joys and things like that. When you're with a narcissist, they're constantly collecting data, trying to figure out how can I gain an advantage over you. And they'll take whatever personal information you give them and somehow or another it can come up later being used against you and for them. And so it's sad to say, but the less they know about you, then the better off you're going to be. These are not people that I'm going to share on any kind of deep or intimate kind of way with. A 7th part of establishing boundaries with a narcissist, when they speak poorly about other individuals, don't go into that space with them. Part of their blurry boundaries is they try to get people to doubt their own legitimacy. And so you're going to hear them talk about Jane over there, or Susie over here, or Tom over here, and they're going to be speaking in very negative ways about them. It's kind of like it's their way of saying, my way's the better way. And then they want you to join with them, which is their way of saying, come on, you're with me on that, right? And of course, that legitimizes them, their ability to say that about you. It's kind of like, well, you know how I think. I've made no secrets about it. When they go into their critical mode, don't go in there with them. You just let it be known, I want to accept them for what they are, or that's their business. That's none of mine to have to get into, and just don't share that space with them. Number 8 in setting boundaries, and that is when the narcissist insults you. Don't defend. When they give you an insult, like you're the dumbest person I've ever met, or you don't know what you're talking about, or you always do things wrong, or you screwed up again, those chronic criticisms are about the narcissist much more than they are about you. Now, there are moments when you may want to stand up and say, this is who I am, or this is the decision I made, and this is why I made it, once. But then if you try to explain yourself and they're still going to insult you and rip you, then it's like, okay, I'm finished. I don't feel the need to defend myself. Frankly, your insults don't bowl me over. And by the way, one of the things that really gets to a narcissist, but to your advantage, frankly, is when you let them know your words, your impressions towards me ultimately are rather irrelevant. They don't like being irrelevant, but they are. Number 9, and that is make no attempt to reform the narcissist with kindness. Now, I'm not saying don't be kind, because I'd rather be that way than mean and ugly, but don't make it your job to think, well, I've got to figure out a way to make them think differently, or make them understand that I can do business with them if they'll just join me over here at this good place. The more you show that desire and that craving to have them join you, they're thinking, good, I've got you on the hook, don't I? And so actually it becomes fuel for their tug of war with you, and you will not win that tug of war. And then number 10, make sure you invest time and energy with healthy people. Many times the narcissist wants to be the grand central station in your life, the one that you run everything through. It's like, I have other individuals that I'm going to invest in. And if this is a person who's not very safe, they're not very trustworthy, they have all this blurred boundaries kind of thing, I'm going to hang with people that say, I like who you are. I want you to be more of what you are. Let me know who you are, those kind of things. I'm going to invest in those kind of individuals. And as you have healthy relationships with other people, then it reminds you that you do indeed know how to manage things healthy, and it just continues to build your confidence. Keep in mind, many times narcissists like to keep you isolated because they don't want you to have those healthy experiences over there. So it really comes down to this. Do you invest your relationship energy? Do you invest your emotional energy into agitated exchanges with that narcissist who wants to control you? Or do you invest yourself in habits and behaviors that are going to lead you to a place of peace? Ultimately, I think you know where I want you to go with that. I want you to be at a place of peace. And when the narcissist says, I'm going to blur your boundaries, I'm just going to run right over, it's like, here's my stop sign. You're not going to do it. And if physically you have to remove yourself in order to go there, do it. Just make sure that that's not the person that you're going to take your cues from at all. That's called good boundaries. Now, I do hope you get good benefit from videos such as this. If you've not already done so, I would invite you to go beneath the video here and hit that subscribe button. Sometimes when you hear videos such as this, it stirs up a need or a desire for you to get some counseling. And if you have a counselor in your area that you could go to, I would encourage you to do so. If that's not a possibility, or if you're interested in online counseling, we've vetted a group and we have their information and a link below us here that we would encourage you to do so. But bottom line is, if you need to have somebody to work this thing through with, make yourself available to that. Invest in yourself in a healthy kind of way. It's part of your good boundaries. In addition, we have our website, survivingnarcissism.tv, drlescarter.com. We have links to our library, which takes you to our books. And we also have my online video workshop. Lots of good stuff down there. And we even have coffee mugs. Actually, I got a picture of me and Gus on a coffee mug. I think Gus slept through another one. So some of you have been asking, where's Gus? And a lot of times he's right there. And other times he's right over here underneath my desk. Who knows? I like Gus. And I think a whole lot of you like Gus too. Thanks for being with me, and thanks for allowing me to be a part of your journey. I take my role in it seriously. I'm grateful that you allow me these moments to be with you as you are trying to figure this all out. And that being said, I want you to live a life of steadiness. I want you to live a life of confidence so that you can then find your place of peace.